Okay.
Okay, are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, so I've been watching Facebook off and on for weeks now, and I've been watching people cooking and singing, and I can't sing, so I'm not going to do that for you. But I was just in the process of making my minestrone soup, which many of you know about and love. And I thought, well, what the heck? I might as well just join everybody else and start videotaping what I'm doing, and this way you can make it yourself at home. So this is, of course, nothing formal. I'm not a professional chef, but I do love to cook. So I'm going to show you how I make the minestrone soup. So first and foremost, I already started cutting up the vegetables. My hands are clean. I just washed them. I have in here the base is carrots, so I chop them up like about this small. So this is here maybe about 6 cups of vegetables in total. I have carrots in here. I have onions that I kind of dice like as just wedge pieces, nothing too fancy, doesn't have to be exact size. 2 potatoes, and I've diced them like this, like you're almost making mashed potatoes. Green beans, I have about maybe 1/3 of a pound, fresh green beans. This is all fresh vegetables, no canned vegetables. The green beans, you just dice them up, bite-sized pieces. I have celery in here as well. I have 3 stalks of celery. Okay, 1/3 of the green beans. I don't know how many carrots, maybe like 2 handfuls like this of baby carrots I used. And that's it to start. So onions, celery, carrots, potatoes, and green beans. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do in a big pot is you're going to start with 4 tablespoons of butter. So I'm gonna put that in there, and also I'm using, you could use vegetable oil, I'm using grapeseed oil. Do not use olive oil for this because olive oil is not good for high heat. So I do about 1/4 of a cup, okay? I don't really measure, I kind of just eyeball it, but it's about 1/4 of a cup with the 4 tablespoons of butter, okay? So I'm gonna put this on medium heat, let that warm up and melt a little bit. And I hope everybody's doing well. Everybody who's watching this, I hope your loved ones are well. It's a crazy time for everybody right now, and I personally am going through it with a family member, but she's doing okay, thank goodness. You know, I know everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from, it's crazy everywhere all over the world. So please take care of your health and try to stay home as much as possible. I have to work. I'm working part-time right now. We're splitting shifts, so I still have to get out there, but we're doing our best to keep social distancing, of course. The hard part is getting the kids to stay home and not be bored and focus on school, so that's a hard thing. So anyway, good luck to everybody out there. Hopefully this will end soon. Okay, so my butter is pretty much melted, and what I'm gonna do now is add my vegetables. You can hear it sizzling, you know it's ready. I always end up making more than I want to. I don't know how to eyeball. I think I'm gonna cut the recipe in half, and then I never end up doing that. So again, it's gonna be over medium-high heat, and you're just gonna keep stirring it every few minutes until the vegetables start to get soft. You don't want them fully cooked, just until they soften up just a bit. So probably like about 10 minutes maybe. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to clean the rest of the vegetables that go in afterwards. And what I use is, this is fresh spinach, the curly leaf. So baby spinach will work fine too, but I like this better because it's more heartier. Baby spinach kind of gets mushy too quickly. So I get a bag of this if you can find it. You can also use fresh fresh spinach that you can get like in the bulk section, as long as it's the hearty leaf and not the little flimsy baby spinach. I don't care for that. So I use about, believe it or not, this was jam-packed. So I kind of eyeball this also, and I use about 1/2 of a bag. But I do give it a good rinse because this is not properly washed. And so what I'm gonna do is use the same bowl and clean these and just tear them a little bit. There's no science to this. Just clean it up a little bit and tear. I do try to take off the stems. It's just easier to eat that way. And just go through the bag and see which ones, if there's any wilted ones or brown, just get rid of it. You'll definitely have plenty out of that bag. You won't even use it. Just save it for another use. And then also, I use bouillon cubes as the base for this soup, and I use beef bouillon cubes. I suppose you could use chicken or vegetable. I've actually done vegetable before, and it's good. I'm not so sure about the chicken. That might totally change the taste. But I have the pot that I'm making. I usually do 10 bouillon cubes. These are the small cubes, not the real big ones. So it's the Weilers or Tones is the brand. I just keep refilling this. I get the big one from Costco. But I use about 10 because I'm going to do about 8 cups of water. So when I add the water, if I've put in too much vegetables and it doesn't look like there's enough water, I'll add more cups of water, but then I will add 1 extra cube for every 1 cup of water that I add. I start out with 10 because I want it to be flavorful. It's not going to make it overly salty because I do not add salt to this because there's salt in the cubes. So let me just make sure that this is, stir this up a little bit, and you can see it's not soft yet, but just keep mixing it in with the butter and the oil so it doesn't stick. Give it a couple more minutes. And I'll keep cleaning this here. And then when I add this to the pot, if it looks a little empty, I'll just add more. You can add as much as you want or however big your pot is. Okay, that looks good. And then also, we have to do cabbage. I use the green cabbage, and I only use a half of a small head. Otherwise, it'll be too much. But of course, you can, if you love cabbage, add more. You can. There's no actual exact measurements to this, which is the nice thing about it. So if you like more green beans, you add more green beans or whatever. So I'll wash this off. And then what I'm going to do is cut it in half. Let's see. I don't even use a half, maybe a little bit less than a half. And then I start to just shred like coleslaw. I try to avoid not putting in the real thick stems, because I just don't like, me personally, I don't like that. But I'll cut it, shave it up. I'm trying to avoid the center stem. Now see, this is too thick for me, so I'll take that piece off. And see, and kind of cut it in half so it's like bite-sized. So I want the greener, not so much the thick whites. Okay, so I might do a little bit more. It doesn't look like there's that much there. That's about right. So I don't know, maybe this is 2 cups, maybe a little over 2 cups. So I'll put this in the bowl with the spinach. And the last thing that you add are zucchinis. So these have been washed. And depending how big your zucchinis are, maybe 1 large one or 2 small. These are like medium, I suppose. So I'm gonna just cut these in bite-sized pieces, so kind of maybe like 3s. and just make them thin, bite-sized pieces like that. Okay. Now I may just use one. I'll find out after otherwise we're going to be eating soup for a month. Although I do plan on passing this out to some of my neighbors, my elderly neighbors who can't get out of the house. Send some to my dad because unfortunately he's going stir crazy and losing it. So I'm gonna bring some to him, drop it off at the porch. Okay, so that's not enough. I think I'm gonna do a half more zucchini. Okay, that's good. Okay, now the vegetables have been cooking for a while, so they're definitely ready. And what I'm gonna do, you can see it's kind of browning a little bit at the bottom of the pot. So you wanna make sure you keep stirring it at this point. Turn on the hot water. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with 8 cups of water right now. Turn down the heat to a low, like a medium low. Because also when you go to put these vegetables in, the zucchini and the spinach will also create liquid, so that's going to add a little more moisture to the pot too. So let me throw this in, and it's going to look like the pot is exploding, but it will all wilt down in time. And if, like I said before, if it shows that it's not enough liquid, just add another cup at a time. See, right now it looks like it's all stuffed to the gills. And then I'm also going to add the 10 bouillon cubes. Put that in there. And at this point, also, I'm going to add diced tomatoes. It doesn't matter what brand you use. But what you're going to do is you're going to crush it with your hands before you put it in. You could put it in a food processor or a blender, but I don't like chunks of tomatoes in my soup, and this helps give it a little more juice. So and it helps take out a little frustration too. So I just squeeze out the tomatoes into the pot. I use 2 cans of diced tomatoes. This is a 15-ounce can or 14, whatever it is. 14.5. So you can use any kind. If you want to use the big 28-ounce can of Italian tomatoes, you can do that too. This is just how I've been making it for umpteen years, and people seem to like it. So, and you're also using the juice that comes with the tomatoes too. So just squeeze it. Oops. Try not to squirt yourself. Okay. And what you're going to do is let this cook. Actually bring it to a boil, and then you're going to put it on simmer, cover it, and put it on simmer, cover it, and let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour. There is no exact wait, I forgot one more thing. So I don't add salt, but I do add pepper to this. So I do a splash of red pepper and regular pepper. And there's no measurement on this. However, we like it a little on the heated side, but I just kind of give it a few sprinkles, maybe not even, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe, and maybe about a teaspoon of black pepper. And that's it. And then you, like I said, bring it to a boil, reduce the heat and cover, and occasionally continue to stir it because it will start to bubble up pretty good. So just keep mixing it. And then when the time is up, that's when you're going to add the beans. And what I use I use one of each. I use the white beans, the cannellini beans, which is a white kidney bean, and then the regular red kidney beans. I drain them and rinse them and stick them in the pot and then cook it for another 15 minutes or so. And then that's it, your soup is done. This soup tastes 10 times better even the next day after all the flavors have had a chance to sit and marry with one another. So, but of course it still tastes good the same day. So that's it. But I will come back when this is almost done and show you what it looks like. So since I am not computer savvy, I have no idea how to continue on with the video once I've stopped it. So we're creating another video that I will put them back to back. So I wanted to show you what this the soup looks like. So now you see it's boiling pretty good. And I've got mine on low. This burner tends to cook things a little too much. So I'm going to put it on my back burner because it's a smaller flame, because I don't want it to boil like this the whole time. So I'm going to put it back here, and because I want it to be more of a simmer. So but this is how it looks. So now if you can see, everything, there's a lot of liquid here, so I don't need to add extra water. The spinach and everything has cooked down pretty good, so there's plenty of juice here. So this is going to sit now for 45 minutes, and I'm going to continually stir it, and then I'm going to add the beans that I have drained and rinsed, the 2 cans. I'll throw that in, let it cook for another 15 minutes or so. And then also, I forgot the most important part, so the pasta. You can eat the soup with or without pasta. Of course, most people love pasta. I always use a small pasta for this dish. You don't want a big noodle. I usually have ditalini. It's you can use elbow, I suppose. That's small enough, but I wouldn't go anything bigger than that. But this is pretty small, you can see. And I always cook my pasta separate. If you cook it in with the soup, all of the juices are going to evaporate. So I always cook my pasta separate, and then